Hi, Greg. How are you? I figured, I think I have to, I made it a Google Hangout on air, which makes it recordable. And I did that so people who aren't here can view it later, but I think I have to enable people individually to speak, which I haven't done before, but first time for everything. So I'll figure that out here. I can hear you now. Oh, nope, that's Lindsay. I can hear Lindsay. Lindsay, is that you? I hear somebody. Yes, always live and learn, Greg. Usually if I do Google Hangouts on air, it's with when people are speaking, but the whole group isn't speaking. So trying this out. Lindsay, can you hear me? Oh, she was here and she's in and out. We'll
Can
get
you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
All right, success.
Yeah, what do you think was up? Who knows?
All right, technology. I was just on a conference call like 2 hours ago with just the company I work with, and this kind of stuff happens all the time.
Oh, totally. And it's the only, I think a lot of times because of these things, people are afraid to use it. But honestly, it's the only way you figure things out. And,
Yeah.
you know, I love Google Hangouts, but the live on air part, I'm still trying to figure out. So I thought, may as well give it a try. So
Yeah, I mean, it's a great tool to have, especially, you know, once you get practiced with it. And
yeah, definitely. I'm gonna just kind of shoot over to my email here and see if anyone else is coming yet. Or are they trying to get in? The other link I posted was private through the college, and I think once you start it, you can't change it. So
Gotcha.
I'm afraid it might take people a little bit. Well, we'll just kind of work backwards then a little bit, and you know, maybe I can answer any specific questions you have before we dive in. I mean, this is really a quick touch base. I just like to help smooth out anything before people get too far in. Hi, Lindsay.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thanks. Greg and I were just talking about how the only way to learn technology sometimes is just dive in and see what happens.
Yeah, I couldn't figure it out at first, but I finally figured it out.
Yeah. I mean, it's just sometimes you just gotta click and just keep clicking, right? Yeah. So Lindsay, I was expecting maybe about 4 of you. I know 2 people are maybe going to jump in late. So I think what I'll do is kind of start with you 2, and I can always phase in the other ones. And that way I can sort of knock out any questions that you all have, or you 2 have rather, and just kind of see what's what. So I'm actually going to screen share right now so you guys can see my screen. Whoa! So can you all see a slideshow now on your screen?
Yep.
Yep.
Perfect. All right. And this is not new information. It's just kind of recapping everything that's already in Moodle. I find Moodle to be visually challenging to figure out what's what and what's due and all of those kinds of things. So sometimes it's kind of nice to pull it together this way. But basically, and I think both of you already kind of have this idea, is that really this course is just about, it's about gathering paperwork and just kind of getting yourself settled in the program. That's pretty much it. And I don't think either of you are enrolled in other clinical courses. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yes.
Good. Okay, so this is really, you know, sort of your getting started point, and it really is. It's, you know, it's paperwork for your formal acceptance into the certification program specifically. So really, you know, they kind of created it as one credit because there are just sometimes little pieces along the way that you just need help sort of navigating. And now, Greg, you and I have talked about your placement, and you're ESOL in secondary ed, right?
Yeah.
And Lindsay, are you early childhood?
Yes.
Okay. And remind me, Lindsay, I'm just going to click over to my checklist here in a second. Remind me where you work and where you are.
I work at a center called Growing Places in Lee.
Oh, right in Lee. Yeah, that's right near me. I live in Newington, right over the water, actually. Awesome. Okay, yes, I remember our conversation on email now. Great. So really, you know, as you gather your paperwork, this, you know, if you haven't been in online classes before, there's a lot of scanning. There's a lot of scanning in documents, and so we just kind of help people set up a way. You know, it's good to get started with a naming convention because you will be saving a ton of things online, and it's just easier to find things if you just find yourself a naming convention with your name and with the title of the assignment or the course number whenever you get your courses. That's really helpful. Do both of you have access to scanners already?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Most people do. I just thought I would check. Have either of you tried to log into your TaskStream account yet?
I have, and I couldn't get on.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me because let me just look really quick. Lindsay, you guys get to see my whole life in a spreadsheet right now. Okay, so you guys are both 622. So yeah, like I posted, or maybe I sent an email. There's been issues with 622 and TaskStream. Just last term, they made it so that you could, by clicking, there's a little puzzle piece in Moodle, and you can click there, and it's supposed to take you right to TaskStream where you turn in that assignment.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just having problems with that communication. So, you know, obviously due dates are, you know, on hold for these first 2, you know, weeks or however long this takes. I think they should have it settled soon, you know, for the first couple of things. So, keep clicking on the wrong tab. So, you'll either be hearing from me or from a Barbara Cohen about when your TaskStream should be up and running. But this naming convention will help you when you put things in TaskStream too, because by the end of your program, you will have a million things in there, and it's just helpful to find. So, like I mentioned, that little puzzle piece there, you know, it'll link you to where you need to turn that in. Have both of you found the Ed resource page with all of the forms and everything?
Well, yeah.
Yes, and it definitely is the everything page. So, yep, everything you need is there. Great. Okay, you guys are easy. PDFs are really helpful for the scans. I mean, sometimes things are in Word documents. You know, I can read both, but PDFs are really viewable in the long run in much easier format in TaskStream, especially when you get to the very end and you create your final portfolio when you're finished with your program. It's a lot easier to put things in and organize them as PDFs, so that's kind of why we put that out there too. This checklist of items is really helpful to follow. And I'm just going to point out a couple of things. You were both 622, so you do have the Declaration of Candidacy form and the essay. 700 students don't have that, and so it's actually kind of convenient that none of them are on right now, so I don't confuse them. when you do get the letters of recommendation, just make sure that they are signed by the person, because if not, they just end up getting sent back to you from the office. So just kind of getting that signature. Have either of you already taken the Praxis Core, or do you have it scheduled?
Yeah, I took mine like 3 weeks ago.
Okay, good. And Lindsay?
Same.
Oh, awesome. That's so great. Okay, wonderful. And then I guess before we dig into the personal plan of study, which isn't too much, and Greg, you and I talked a little bit about supervising practitioners. How does that information sound to you? Is that making sense?
Yeah, I think I found someone. I live near Concord, and I think I found someone at Concord Christian who has that degree, and I'll be able to. I don't really know what the whole thing entails, but would I just kind of follow him around?
Yeah. So I mean, there's a couple of things, and Lindsay, this will probably help you too. So in your program, Lindsay, you're a dual certification, so you're acquiring over time 440 hours. Excuse me. Of clinical work, and Greg, I think you're 360 with the single cert, 360. And basically, think of it like this. So in a traditional teacher certification program, you're student teaching for 4 months straight, right? And so the way this program is designed is to sort of embed that work that you would have done in 4 months straight in another program, to take that and embed it throughout and attach it to your courses. So you are spending time in classrooms at different grade ranges, depending on your certification, but you are doing some teaching, some observing, however the people want to utilize you. Sometimes things within your own role can be counted as hours, as long as there are certified teachers present. I mean, you both have very different situations with very different certifications, so those are things that I can help you iron out. The reason being is that, we don't want it to be that, someone has a position in a child care center or in a school and, ends up getting certified and is never in the presence of a certified teacher. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So, your supervising practitioner, they're kind of your go-to person on the ground. Doesn't mean you're going to spend all of your time with them or with their students or groups of children, like in your situation, Lindsay, but they are the person, that when you have a clinical course, and you sit down and, at the beginning of the term, and you look at the assignments you have that require student contact or require, teaching units or lessons, and you kind of plan that out, how that's going to look with your supervising practitioner, because they kind of know the lay of the land. Now, for you, Greg, if your person is outside of the school, you're going to more of a situation where that person becomes your go-to as far as, maybe teaching strategies and content and resources, and then the people you already work with, like on the ground, they can help you navigate that since you're employed there.
Okay, because I work really closely with a couple English teachers and a social studies teacher at Co-Brown.
Right.
And, I mean, there's no one at Co-Brown with that degree.
Right. Yeah, and that's fine, and that happens a lot with the early childhood, and I don't think this is the case for you, Lindsay, but sometimes people in child care centers, for example, they'll have state certificates, but they won't be state certified. They have like a health certificate or something, so they have someone outside that's kind of their go-to. It's just that someone's certified, you have to be linked with someone certified in some way, which is what that is. So you can certainly work closely, and you'll probably end up working more closely with that social studies teacher. And you may even list both of them as your supervising practitioners, just to kind of cover those sides. So that will work. Mm-hmm. Lindsay, remind me, I know you did mention that there are certified teachers there. Have you connected with anyone who has the early childhood and early childhood special ed certificates?
So a lot of them have the early childhood degree, but not the special education certificate. Is that going to make a difference?
It does. It's
okay.
Typical, though. It's very common, and it's very hard to find. So don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. There's always ways to figure it out. You may have a situation similar to Greg, where you have one person at the child care center And we can find someone. The early childhood special ed cert is actually really rare because it's not even, hasn't been around that long either. So if we can't find anyone with that, we can find somebody with a general special education certification. And a good way to do that actually is to maybe even figure out which elementary school in the area you might eventually want to get into for kindergarten, first or second, or even third grade hours, depending on how things fall, and maybe find someone with the general special ed cert there, and then you kind of have one in each spot. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have an idea of any of the schools in the area that you might want to get into?
Yeah, actually, my hometown, I actually know a few teachers in the elementary school, so I think that would be easy to get into.
Great, great. And so Greg, yours is K to 12, and so your hours will be spread out K to 12. The majority of your hours will certainly be in high school, because that's where you're employed. But keep in the back of your mind, and there's so many ways to get creative about what it will look like to acquire some experience in the K to 4 and 5 to 8 range. We can aim for 10 to 20 hours maybe max. 10, 15 is probably even okay for those off-grade ranges.
Okay.
Into your secondary. It's just because the certificate is K to 12 that, that way, we don't say, oh, you're certified K to 12, but you've only ever had experience 9 to 12, if that makes sense. So,
yeah.
So we can, get creative with ways to do that. And then, Lindsay, same for you. You may be at the child care center. Does it go up to kindergarten or preschool?
Yeah, it's pre-K.
Yeah, it's pre-K. Okay, so, yeah, so, I mean, it'll be the same thing for you. The majority of your hours may be up through, age 4 or 5, and then, you can gather some hours in K1 and 2, 3. But you also kind of want to think ahead too. So Greg, you're going to be. It sounds like you're going to be a secondary teacher because that's your area of study, correct?
Yeah, and my concern is that like every day during the week I work at the high school.
Right.
So I'm not really sure when or how I'll be able to meet up with these other teachers, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, it totally makes sense. Yep. I mean, there's ways around it. There's, summer programs, even after-school programs. Sometimes if like the February and April breaks, sometimes we can find schools that have a different break, that kind of thing.
Okay.
You can acquire hours that way. That's always the really tricky part. And sometimes it makes your life complicated for a couple of weeks, and then you kind of you come out on the other side. So definitely thinking think in terms of summer programs and after school programs. Just kind of be on the lookout for those things in that district, in that area.
Okay.
And Lindsay, yeah, it's probably the same for you. What's your child care center schedule like?
I work 40 hours.
Yeah.
I have kind of a split schedule, so I'll close one day and open the next. So on my opening days, I do get out at 2, which I know is close to the time they get out of school. So I'll have to figure something out.
Yeah, and for you too, it could be the kind of thing, and actually for both of you, I don't know, you don't get that many days off, and sometimes it's, sometimes it's days off, sometimes it's, it's another part about, that whole, the convenience of doing a program where you can still work, but still be certified. It's just one of those tricky things, but always doable. It's all, I mean, I say students always start the program nervous about that particular element, and there are always different ways to do it, and things pop up, and we figure it out. So.
Is this something that needs to get done during this one course?
Oh, no. This is spread out throughout your whole program, all of your hours.
Because I only have about a year left of this program.
Yeah.
So I really got to get cracking, I guess.
Well, yeah. Well, so let me, and you know what, Greg, let me just make a note, and I'll just kind of look up your program to see how many clinical courses you have, and then we can kind of, actually, that leads us right into the personal plan of study. This kind of works out really well. The last assignment that you do is just kind of planning out what your program's going to look like. This is just, you're kind of planning out a skeleton of what you're getting yourself into. That's the best way to put it. You can kind of plan out, and this you get this template from that Ed Resources page, kind of helps you see, okay, how many hours do I need to get in this class? How many clinical hours do I need? When am I taking a clinical versus a non-clinical course? When do I need to make sure I have testing done? What kinds of things am I uploading to TaskStream? That type of thing. So when you do this, and you don't have to wait until the end of the course to do this, you can do it earlier if you want. This is when you start to plan out where things are going to fall, where your hours will fall. So let me just click over really quick here. Whoops, losing my screen. Oh. Okay, let's go back here. Here we go. So while I'm pulling this up, actually, besides how on earth am I going to get all these hours in, what kind of questions do you guys have?
Well, if Lindsay doesn't have any, I've set up my account on TaskStream, but I can't upload any files yet. Is that something that's going to be corrected later by the school?
Yes, that was that thing with the puzzle piece in Moodle.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll get worked out. I don't know what's going on in the back end of that, but we keep getting emails this week saying things are happening, and so yeah, don't worry about that. That will come together. I'm looking, here you are, Greg, 360. So you have 4 courses where you will be splitting up your 360 hours. However, you can do hours when you're not in clinical courses, when you're in other courses. So you can document. I mean, you could even start documenting hours now. Both of you could. Once you have an idea of who your supervising practitioners are going to be, and that whole situation is set. Because basically, when I'm looking at this chart here, so you have these non-clinicals, so you only have 3 non-clinicals. So actually in 622 you're in now. So you can even gain hours during 619 and 631, Greg. But the majority of them will be split up in these 4 classes. So it sounds to me, and then 651, you pull everything together. You can get hours in 651, but you don't have to. This is your final presentation. That's you too, Lindsay. Final presentation, final portfolio, everything. So when you do your personal plan of study, this will help you start to plan out, okay, when is this going to happen? How is this going to look? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes. I know it's so overwhelming at first, but once you get in a rhythm with everything, you'll be in good shape, and everything will really come into place. And that's my job too. And my job is all things clinical. So everything that has to do with your work on the ground, I come observe you. I answer your questions about certification and trying to figure out supervising practitioners and that kind of thing. So that's my job. So Lindsay, here's your 440. And you can think of your age ranges 0 to 2, 3 to 5, and 5 to 8. It's your 5 to 8 that's outside of the daycare. That's the one you're going to want to keep in mind to try and when you'll get into the other schools.
Okay.
And you're splitting up your hours among these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clinical courses, and you can do it during that last one if you need to. So really where that brings us, have both of you had any transcripts that you have sent already?
To where?
To Granite State College School of Education Admissions Office?
I believe so.
Okay. Yeah. Usually it's one of the first things you do, but every once in a while students haven't done it, so I just kind of note that. Teachscape, this is just kind of planting a seed. You won't need it yet. Once you're in your first clinical course where I come observe you, Teachscape is what sort of holds and facilitates the whole observation process. It's where you put your lesson plans, any videos if you do them, reflections, the rubrics and report, all of that is there. Neither of you need to worry about purchasing this now, but just know that whenever you do get into your next term and you have clinical courses, you will just look for an email that says activate your Teachscape account. More just planting a seed so you know it's coming. You know, due dates, we have due dates for this course because it's paperwork and you can't wait until the last minute because you really have to depend on other people. Getting people to write letters for you, you know, criminal background check. Well, both of you are in schools already, so that isn't a big deal. You already have that. You know, that kind of thing takes time. So, you know, things are flexible. You know, if you're struggling finding a supervising practitioner or something's going to take a week longer, just let me know. It doesn't matter. We more have the due dates as kind of a just a way to set it. So if it's, you know, a week before the term ends, you can't say, oh, wait, I didn't, you know, get my letters yet, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But you two seem completely on top of things, so I'm not worried. I'm not worried about that at all. All right, how we doing?
Good.
Good.
I think so.
yeah, I know. I know what you're thinking right now. Oh, man, I need to stop this screen share. Stop! Okay, there we go.
It just seems a little overwhelming.
Totally. It is. It is overwhelming because you are working and going to school and getting a certification. It's a lot, but you know, I always tell people it's not a life sentence. It's it's 1 year. You know, you take a deep breath and dive in, and you know, you don't worry so much right now about the parts that seem the most impossible, like how on earth am I going to get into other grades? When am I going to make that happen? That will come. Give yourself time to get acquainted with your program. You know, once you get into clinical courses, you're juggling school and work and figuring out, you know, what am I doing in the classroom? You know, when am I working with these students? When do I need to meet with this teacher to figure that out? It's, you know, it's teaching. it's basically teaching in a nutshell. But you know, it will come together. So, but you can't tackle it all at once. Oh, Alexis was here and she left.
Yeah, I saw our little video thing, but she wasn't really saying anything.
No, she wasn't saying it. She was probably, you know, someone emailed me while we were chatting. Jonathan. Oh, that's funny. Okay. Yeah, well, you know, this obviously is, you know, just the beginning of the term. So, you know, right now, really your first order of business is going to the Ed Resource page, getting the supervising practitioner authorization form, and there's some general information on there. The Q&A sheet, I can't remember if I posted that in Moodle or if I, you know what, I'll just email it to you guys because I don't think I posted it in Moodle. The Q&A sheet just kind of breaks down for the schools why and how this program is different. It's not uncommon for schools or child care centers to have no understanding of how it's even possible for you to work and get a certification at the same time. So it kind of answers those questions so that, you know, people understand what it is you're doing. So so really that's it. You know, first order of business is getting the supervising practitioners nailed down and you know, beginning to gather those letters of reference. And make sure people know they don't have to be novels. It's really to help us look for red flags.
Okay, and that's just kind of teachers that we can choose on our own.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you think people, you know, if you think it's a lot to ask people to write a letter, they can. There is a form on the Ed Resource page. I'm just going to share again really quick. There's a form on the Ed Resource page, and I'm just going to point it out because, okay, so here's the supervising practitioner information. So many things. All right, I'm pulling a Command F to find this on this page because I just can't find it right now. Recommendation form, there it is. Do you guys know Command F?
I do now.
You do now, yes. So when you have a page where there's way too much going on, Command F, start typing it in and say, I'm looking for this. It's really great for research too when you're looking for a keyword. Okay. So the recommendation form I'm pointing it out because there's something weird on here. Yeah, it says right here, complete this form and return it to the applicant or send directly to the School of Education. When you give this to people, cross that out because you have to turn it in for this class. So this is helpful sometimes when people are busy to do they quickly fill it out. And then they only have to, on the back of the form, they can write a quick statement about, why you are a good fit for a teacher certification program. This sometimes is a lot less daunting to people than, oh, I have to sit down and write a letter. So, if you feel like you're asking someone who's really busy, this is, the kind of thing that it's completely acceptable. So just keep that in mind.
Okay.
And once you get going in Moodle, if you turn things in through TaskStream and just kind of drops right there, really this kind of class, I mean, in some ways it's all or nothing. So, you turn in your paperwork, in a relatively timely fashion, you get an A. It's just the kind of the way it is. So think of it as a little grade point average booster too.
Okay.
Yeah, yay!
Could use a couple of those.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like with anything, just don't get overwhelmed with the newness of it all. It will all come piece by piece, and I will help you navigate it. So just make sure you call or email anytime. I'm pretty techie, so you can, my phone is glued to my hand. You can text me. You can, whatever you want to do, I'll answer your questions.
What is your number then?
Yes, I am 573-6435, and it's hiding in my, there it is. It's hiding in my signature, my email signature, if you forget it.
So this may sound like a silly question, but
No
I really
such
have
thing.
no idea. So the whole supervising practitioner thing, is it seriously just us sitting in classes with some of these teachers and observing them and then us just kind of dipping our toes into some things? Because I really have no idea what it entails.
Yeah, sure. So that is, and Lindsay, this is probably something that, you if you're not wondering it, you probably didn't know you were wondering it. Basically, it's the kind of thing where you could be sort of shadowing them. You could be, they can put you to work in whatever way they need and want to, and that you can, that you can handle in your job capacity. But in your courses, you will be writing units that you will need to teach. And so that's when you sit down with the teacher, and the teacher says, oh, we're learning about, World War II. And when you write your units, you're kind of looking ahead saying, oh, that would be a great time to do my units for this class. And then you kind of merge things there. So you will be teaching. And that is, you get a variety of experiences from observing, from, like you said, dipping your toes in wherever. But there are specific assignments in your clinical courses for both of you where you're working with small groups. A big piece of the program is a reflective analysis of student work that you'll learn how to do, really learning how to figure out what student needs are, write measurable goals, and carry out instruction to help target those goals. So that's another thing too, that you kind of meet with that person. So for example, Greg, in your situation, you would meet with that particular teacher to figure out where it fits in the curriculum and in the scope of the day. But you may touch base with the ESOL person that you find on the kinds of resources and the kinds of strategies that you'll need to go about that. Does that make sense?
I think so.
You think so, yeah. And Lindsay, for you, same kind of thing. If you are in a class that's targeting special education in the child care center, you may not have access to a lot of that. That may be the kind of thing where you end up, trying to figure out in your schedule where you're going into other schools, or you can tackle some of those things in the child care center, working with small groups of students on specific needs that you've observed that they require. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And you know, you'll get that guidance, and everybody in this program has a completely different situation. So that's why sometimes things are a little gray, because people are in high schools, some people are working still in the business world, and they are taking days off here and there, and you know, taking off weeks, and you know, or going in after hours. I mean, people are doing all kinds of things for this program. So there's no such thing as a silly question, because everybody has a different situation.
Okay. And basically, we would just approach a teacher and ask them if there's a time they can kind of squeak us into something.
You mean to teach or to observe or anything?
Yes, anything. Yes.
Yes, definitely. And plus, and you know, are you a paraprofessional, Greg?
No, I'm a tutor, and they call me an ESL tech because this is the first full year they've had Chinese international students.
Yep. Right. Okay. Yeah. And so a lot of what you do, you're working directly with students already. When you work with students, are you always by yourself, or are you included within the classroom, or a little bit of both?
It's a little bit of both. Most of the time, I'm included with another teacher. It's in their English classes.
Yeah. Perfect. So you will have no problem acquiring your hours. You will have no problem. Yep. You're fine. You will be in good shape. And so, Lindsay, we just got to find you someone with a general special educator cert in a public school nearby, and you'll be good to go, too.
Perfect.
Yeah. All right. Well, you know, now that you have enough information in your brain to keep you up all night, try not to let it stress you out, because it all comes together. We just take it piece by piece. And that's kind of the bonus of having this as a one-credit course, is you get to iron it all out now versus when you're in the thick of a class. So.
Gotcha.
Yes. But yeah, like I said, anything pops into your mind, email, text, call, whatever, anytime. I'll help you out.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
All right. You're welcome, Greg. Bye, Lindsay.
Bye.